former President Bush wants to compare the insurrection people to the 9/11 attacks. And those that do compare the insurrection to 9/11, I want you to review those tapes because there is no comparison. And if you think that you're going to sell a viewer that there is such a comparison, it just shows how hideous and atrocious and limited our media really are. President Bush, I think that we need to start looking into your presidency a little more, because the way you're reacting towards people, I'm real suspicious that maybe you were against people before, and the woke movement. The two-party system was one party, but the woke movement did not happen overnight, in my opinion. Number one, 9/11. You want to compare the insurrection to 9/11, yet you attacked Iraq, who you claimed had nothing to do with 9/11. My question is why are you guys at war with our children? The news of the day, instead of reporting on the Syria campaign, where for the last 10 years Russia has been bombing schools, hospitals, and civilians without any UN resolution to halt it. And the news of the day is worried about 5-year-olds taking the shot. So my question is why are you at war with our children? I only have one answer to that. And the only answer I can actually give is those that we may have been at war with before secretly retaliating against us. Number one, Mr. Bush, you attacked Iraq, and Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. You also were in Afghanistan, and you had 8 years to finish that war on a peaceful transition. In 8 years, you allowed multiple presidents after you to have to deal with a crisis that you started. Thus, those people in 2021 at the airport, the 13 Marines and Navy crewmen, partially was your fault for your incompetence. That your incompetence was so bad during your presidency that it's rubbed off onto other presidencies. Number two, Saddam Hussein. The person you claimed, CNN and Mr. Bush, that man that was on trial, the last person, was actually Saddam Hussein. Maybe you should tell the truth, because not only did he not look like Saddam Hussein, but his family wanted to know the dental records, and those were never actually proven whether or not that person in that hole was actually Saddam Hussein. What that means is that was not Saddam Hussein, and Mr. Bush continues his lie as if it was, blaming the insurrection and comparing it to 9/11 because he seems to be so paranoid of the American people, wanting to find out some of these government facilities of all the money they've been spending in the dark money, such as the Iraq war that had nothing to do with the terrorist attacks on 2001. Mr. Bush claiming that he was able to apprehend Saddam Hussein, but that double man looked to me and to a lot of people, and it's not forgotten, that there was a good possibility that wasn't truly Saddam Hussein. Why are you at war with our children? Why are 5-year-olds having to take the vaccine? Why all this coronavirus attack and the continuation of it in so many ways? Why? Why? I want to know. Well, one of the answers could be that Saddam Hussein was not Saddam Hussein. And Mr. Bush lied to us like he did during his entire presidency. And the real Saddam Hussein is somewhere in a suit chilling in Russia with Vladimir Putin underground, or in Turkey, or in another part of the world. The bottom line is this. Until the media is able to tell us the truth about events, people will continue to not have trust in the media or in science. The fact that universities are teaching science to students, but not practicing science by mandating students, kids under 50, to take a shot because of their own paranoia. Look, if you don't want to teach the kids, find another job, find another career, let someone else teach. What's happening is you're at war with our kids. What this tells me is those that we went to war with, there's a good possibility that they're at war with us without us even knowing it, such as Iraq and Saddam Hussein. Mr. Bush, you should be definitely questioned about your presidency a little more. And my suggestion is to stay behind the scenes, because the more that you go up on the podium and even compare the insurrection to 9/11, where you claim only 3,000 people died that day, when 130,000 people go in and out of that building that day. And even if some people had the knowledge that something was about to occur that day, I just don't see 3,000 being the correct number when 130,000 people go in and out of that building every day. Mr. Bush, I don't think you were an honest president. And in my opinion, out of all the U.S. presidents of all U.S. history, worse than Joe Biden, worse than Barack Obama, and even worse than Jimmy Carter himself, President George W. Bush takes the cake as the worst U.S. president without question. To even compare the insurrection to the 9/11 attacks while he sat there in that classroom and didn't react quick enough, and then like a big bully went to war versus a country that had nothing to do with it, instead of finding out piece by piece by piece who is really responsible for that attack that day, including yourself with prior knowledge. The way you're talking to the people regarding the insurrection is just more proof that there is a chance that you hated people so much that you were willing to attack us just to make money. I call the George W. Bush presidency the second presidency of Jefferson Davis. We had a Confederate in the White House. And I think that might answer your questions. Why those attackers attacked us when they attacked us. Because he was the one had something to do with the payroll. Him and other members of the caucus in both parties had some form of knowledge before the attacks, in my opinion, and they had no ability to police it. But the number one thing is the reaction after the fact. Attacking a country that had nothing to do with that attack was the biggest bully of a president. And I believe today the whole pandemic is directly a cause and effect of a retaliation of what Mr. Bush did in 2001 to 2008. That those people just aren't not only not forgetting, but they're doubling down. And it's just a proof, the fact that Afghanistan is in the hands of the people that were there before we were attacked, means they were playing it the whole time for that ends and the means. There's no excuse. Tell the truth. The media needs to tell the truth. The United States got out of Afghanistan because China was supporting the Taliban with money and equipment. And since we can't even talk about our adversary, we had to leave before the truth came out. Because Mr. Bush was unable to go into a conflict in Afghanistan like he was in Iraq, like a big bully, and in 8 years not withdraw in a way that made us look like we had accomplished a mission accomplished by training the Afghan forces to defend themselves instead of those photo ops and continuation of lies and attacking journalists for going down there and trying to get the truth for 20 years. Mr. Bush's fault, without question, the worst U.S. president of all U.S. presidents. George W. Bush, the second presidency of Jefferson Davis. YouTube.com, Jamestown, California.